What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to your favorite Millionaires channel, and in today's video we'll be exploring some financial entertainment, going over. Wait a second, no, I'm not a millionaire. That was totally just to get clicks. No shame in that. But the thing is, having millionaire in the title just sounds better than $100,000 man reacts to financial TikTok. So here we are. But anyways, whenever I'm on the hunt for my next best investment or seeking financial advice at all for that matter, I always turn to the holy grail of financial education apps, TikTok. Wait a second, that can't be right. Or can it? Well, in today's video, we'll be putting that to the test. Every time I browse through TikTok, which granted isn't all that often, but when I do, I usually see videos from seemingly 17-year-olds that get millions upon millions of views, basically putting my full-length YouTube videos to shame, really. So I thought, why not actually go on the app and see whether or not some of these TikToks actually have some real juice to them and some good, sound financial advice, instead of just entertainment, which this app is typically known for. And by the way, none of today's video is scripted. I'm literally just gonna jump into TikTok and search up some hashtags like stocks, personal finance, wealth maybe. We'll see what I end up searching, and then I will just review, or not review, but basically react to any of these TikToks that I just stumble upon, basically giving either a green or a red light for sound financial advice. I really hope you enjoy it. Smash the like button. Before we do jump into it though, I want to quickly thank today's video sponsor, Skillshare. Skillshare is an online learning community for creative individuals who are looking to broaden their skill set through the thousands of different classes available on the platform, covering topics such as marketing, business analytics, entrepreneurship, web development, and so much more. This is a platform that is curated for learning, meaning that you will never be subject to watching an ad on the platform. Your attention can be fully focused towards absorbing the information at hand. Now, recently, I've been trying to engage a lot more with my audience over on Instagram, and that comes down to posting more quality content. So one class that I recently took on Skillshare that I found to be really helpful in learning to take better photos and editing them in a more effective way was the Instagram-worthy photography course by Brandon Wolfel. This was a really quick and to the point course featuring 16 lessons on photography and editing that got me back up to speed with posting bomb photos on Instagram. But photography and editing are just one of the multiple skills I've been able to refine over the past several months using Skillshare. So if you're looking to pick up a new skill over the summer to switch things up, make sure to sign up for Skillshare using the link down below. The first 1,000 subscribers who do so will get a free trial to Skillshare's premium membership. All right, so with that said, let's now jump right into TikTok and we can look over some of these, I guess we could call them fin talks. All right, so I'm gonna go into the discover section and let's search for stocks as a first hashtag. I guess that would be a good start, a good place to start. So, all right, we're gonna search up stocks and all right, let's take a look at any one of them. This one right here, stocks I'm keeping forever. Starbucks, Apple, Amazon, Tesla, Coke. All right, so that was a pretty quick one, to be honest. He went over a couple stocks that he would keep essentially forever. And there's a couple that are jumping out at me right away that I do agree with. Amazon is one of my largest holdings in my portfolio, and you really can't go wrong. They're just venturing on into so many different industries and crushing it in each one of those industries. I see this being a multi-trillion-dollar business over the course of the next decade, really. However, one thing to keep in mind is that just saying I'm going to keep a stock forever is not necessarily something that you should take as financial advice. Reason being, no investor is ever going to keep a stock forever. Just keep that in mind, right? Especially a company like a Starbucks, like an Apple. As an investor in these companies, you still need to make sure you're staying on top of their financial growth over time and then reassessing your thesis on the company. Now, in all honesty, are these companies still going to be here in the next 20, 30 years? Most likely. However, it doesn't mean that it's going to remain a really good investment opportunity. There could be opportunity cost loss from investing capital elsewhere. So all in all though, it's an all right TikTok, I guess, but yeah, definitely just make sure to conduct research on the stocks that you are also investing in. All right, let's move to the second TikTok. So browsing through here, we're in the stocks hashtag. Let's just randomly go, what's the best stock to pick? All right, let's go and look at this one. Typical advice, pick all the stocks. Okay. That is true. All right, so I like the way that he formatted this TikTok essentially. He's saying, as a beginner, should I be buying as many stocks as possible? Now, diversification is something that I speak about quite a bit on this channel, and really it's something that all investors should try to achieve in their stock portfolio as well as their larger portfolio as well, to include other asset classes like real estate, potentially some commodities. Maybe crypto now is becoming an asset that is more taken into account for a broader portfolio. In this case, he is basically in a funny and witty way speaking about investing in an exchange traded fund. VTI is a total market index. Essentially, it had over 3,500 stocks essentially. So with one exchange traded fund, you're able to have one single holding in your portfolio that exposes you to multiple companies. We speak about exchange traded funds all the time on this channel, and really this is one of the best ways, in my opinion, for retail investors specifically to diversify at a relatively low cost if you purchase the right exchange traded funds, and then also have that more solid foundation in your portfolio that tracks the broader market, while then you can potentially go ahead and hand select certain stocks that you believe will show larger appreciation than the market over the course of time that you hold those positions. So overall though, that was actually a pretty good TikTok. All right, this is actually pretty fun. So let's move on to another one. Browsing through, which one's gonna catch my eye? All right, Roth IRA. Let's take a look at this one. By the way, a Roth IRA, basically the same thing as a TFSA here in Canada. I missed most of it, so hopefully it's not too long and it'll restart. Okay. Just throwing that cash in there. All right, so essentially what she's talking about is putting monthly contributions into a Roth IRA. Again, sort of the same thing as a TFSA here in Canada, and these are tax sheltered accounts where the contributions that you make are limited per year by the government. However, they are tax free when they grow and you withdraw those contributions later on down the line. The catch here is that your income is taxed in the year that you make the income, but then your contributions are after tax. That's why over time, as your contributions grow and the portfolio value grows, when you go to withdraw those funds later on down the line, it is tax-free. Really great accounts, and these are typically the accounts that I recommend starting to invest in when you are new, maxing those out before going and contributing to other types of investment accounts. In this case, she's also talking about $4.8 million value at the age of 60. This is through compounding, right? So really simple concept. Over time, as you're contributing, let's say $300 or $400 per month to that account, and potentially in a market index or an exchange traded fund like we spoke about earlier, on average and historically speaking, the market tends to appreciate by between 8 to 10% on average, right? So if you project that out to, in her case, she's 18, 60, so 42 years, well, that is going to compound over time and exponentially grow. So overall, this was actually a pretty good one as well, in a fun manner. I'm actually kind of impressed by these. All right, let's see what else the stock hashtag has in store for us. All right, let's choose how to find the best stock. My boyfriend, Dogecoin. I like the sound of that. Let's take a look at this one. 10K in 2020. Okay. I kind of see where this is going, actually, I think. Dancing. I'd be excited too. Since then, he's made 84K. Okay, what? Oh, that's it. That's it. Okay. Yeah, so here's the type of thought. This is what I was more expecting on TikTok. The three first ones were actually pretty decent. This is kind of what I was expecting more. Okay, so blindly putting $10,000 into Dogecoin and then touting your gains, $84,000 in a short period of time with an altcoin that ultimately no one really knew. This was 100% gambling, right? So this is where I want more individuals to be wary of and attentive to proper stock due diligence. In this case, it's a cryptocurrency, but also not putting all your eggs in one basket. I have no idea if this individual $10,000 was a lot to them or not, but the fact is that this was a jackpot winner. And this type of activity is not replicable over and over and over again. You'll have people telling you that, give me X amount of money and I'll be able to do this type of return for you. The reality is that an 800% return consistently over time is not achievable, even if you're the best investor in the world. So this really is a type of TikTok that you really just need to take as entertainment and not financial advice of any kind, really. If you will be investing into higher risk investments, such as what a Dogecoin really was and still is ultimately, I would only start doing this with a really small portion of your portfolio, maximum 5%, that you are willing to lose. That's all I have to say about this one. Okay, moving on, we'll do a couple more probably in the stock section. I'm not even sure, I'm just going with the flow. So, all right, let's look at this one right here. Here's why financial literacy is important.
Here's what the sad part is. Some people with less than $1,000 in their bank account probably already have them on pre-order.
It's a bit less than 1,000 for sure.
Literacy is important. At the time that I'm making this video, Apple's stock is currently at $130. That means for the price of the headphones, someone could have purchased 4 of Apple's stock. But instead, people choose to make money for Apple instead of having Apple make money for them. Again, this is why financial literacy is important.
All right, so there's a couple things to unpack here. First of all, I do like the overall trend of what this guy is saying, right? That buying an investment is going to be better than purchasing the consumer good. Of course, in a perfect world, everyone would just put 90% of their income into stocks and other types of investments. But we don't live in a perfect world, and this is a very black and white way of seeing it, right? So of course, if you have $17, like what he was showing in your bank account, you should not have $550 headphones on pre-order or, God forbid, on payments that you're paying interest. Of course. However, whenever I see these types of videos of people comparing the cost, let's say, of a Tesla 15 years ago or 10 years ago, whatever, and the amount of stock that they purchased, and then over time the Tesla is worth 50% less and the investment would be worth multiple millions of dollars. It's not as black and white as that. First of all, you're assuming that the person's going to keep the stock for 10, 15 years and not sell at some type of increase, a couple 100% multiple. The other thing, however, is that he's speaking about financial literacy, okay? You should not be buying $500 worth of Apple stock either if you have $17 in your bank account. I mean, that would make no sense either, right? So he needs to preface this with some other information about financial literacy, about learning how to save and craft a saving mindset, which then can be transitioned over into an investor mindset over time once you have your credit in order and then you also have a nice savings account with an emergency fund in it. I would give this like a 4 out of 10. All right, you know what? Let's do one bonus TikTok here just because why not? Oh, look at that, property. Let's speak about some rental property.
What's something really important that you should have been taught in school?
A lot of things about finance, basically everything.
That'll set you financially free. You can buy 2 rental properties that'll set you into financial abundance, and you can buy 3 ever you want every day for the rest of your life.
Okay, that's very simplistic. First of all, if you've been a follower of this channel, I am a strong advocate of trying to include at some point or another real estate in your portfolio. I think it's one of the best asset classes to own for multiple reasons. You get cash flow, you get debt pay down from your tenants, you get natural appreciation in the market. All of that gets taken into account for your return on property, and it's one of the easiest ways to build wealth without really any education whatsoever. Anyone can do it. This, however, is really simplistic. One property equals $5K per month. I'm assuming he's talking cash flow in this particular case if he's talking about covering expenses, and then he said 2 properties, financial abundance. $5,000 a month in cash flow. I mean, you wouldn't be able to do that in my market with anything under a couple $1 million worth of, like a property worth a couple $1 million. And at that point, you would need, well, it would be at least a 10 unit building. So in that case, you would need at least 35% down since it's a corporate rate. So this kind of makes no sense when you're first starting out with one single property. But I do think that you should start saving up at some point for a down payment on either a duplex, a triplex, or up even to a fourplex. And by the way, I made a full video about how you can purchase your first property if you're interested, a full 12-step blueprint on what I did and how you can implement this as well. But yeah, that one, honestly, I mean, it makes sense, but probably like a 3 or 4 out of 10 realistically, because there's a lot left out of that and you would need to do a lot more research to understand what the heck he's talking about. Okay, let's switch things up a bit now and we'll search another hashtag. Let's go personal finance on this one. Boom. It appears right away. Personal finance, we got 4.5 billion views on that. That's absolutely incredible. All right, again, I'll just select one at random. Man, I'm seeing some familiar faces here from the stock one, this one, this one. Anyways, let's just go to a random one. Let's select this one right here. That's the concept of a dividend distribution. All right, so yeah, pretty a funny way, basically a conversation between one guy about how a dividend distribution works. And this is the basic concept of a dividend stock. Basically, you can buy into a company. Typically, a dividend stock is going to be a company that is well established in their industry. And so for this reason, they don't need to utilize as much of their capital as possible to reinvest back into their growth. So they will distribute out a portion of their earnings back to shareholders in the form of dividend distribution, just as a way of saying thank you for holding the stock. And that's exactly what he's talking about here with Apple stock, where for every stock that you buy of Apple, as of right now, I'm not sure if that's the exact amount, but based on the yield, they will give you out about $3 per share held. So actually that last one ended up being more of a stock TikTok anyways, not really personal finance. I guess kind of it goes all hand in hand, but also I didn't give it a score. I would give that one probably like a 6 or 7 out of 10. It was quite accurate and gave you a good idea of how a dividend stock worked. So let's do another one. Let's click on student versus entrepreneur. Let's see what that's all about. Oh my, yeah. That's the reality of a lot of people. $250,000 student loans. That's scary. Story of my life right now as an entrepreneur. Student debt is tough. Okay, a couple things. First of all, if you had 10 properties, you'd probably have a net worth exceeding $1 million. You probably would exceed the $1 million mark at around the 10 property owned, to be honest, especially depending on your market. But did I say 10? I meant to say 5. But anyways, this right here is the story of my life. It's crazy how you can go and get student loans through the roof without any questions asked almost for basically getting a job that's $50,000. Now, granted, that is right out of university, and it's not as simple as that either. You can do very well over time in a corporate job. You start at 50,000, you work really hard, work your way up and get to a nice salary. Maybe you'll even get stock options. So I would still recommend, if you're able to get a college or university education, it's still something that should potentially be on the table depending on what type of profession you're looking to do. If you're trying to be a lawyer, if you're trying to be a doctor, of course you need to take on potentially student debt, because no one can afford $250,000 out of pocket unless your parents have been saving for you and done really well in the markets. With that said, the second part about being an entrepreneur and taking out a loan to buy a cash flowing asset has been extremely difficult. For me, right now, it's very difficult. Essentially, they want 2 years of proof of income from your business in order to then even be approved for the loan. So some of those things like the 20% down, that's just a no-brainer. All of those documentations that you're still going to need to provide the bank, regardless of if you have a job or not. But being an entrepreneur, or being self-employed, I should say, and generating income outside of a job, bankers really don't like to see that unless you are able to prove proof of income for a minimum of 2 years. So that was actually pretty good and very accurate. I would give that an 8 or a 9 out of 10. Moving on, let's take a look at what else TikTokers have to offer. What my $180,000 salary looks like in New York City. Probably pretty rough is my assumption.
I know, right? It's standard big law salary, but still, this was quite a step up from my high school minimum wage job working at a used bookstore.
Absolutely, it would be.
$180,000 means that I should be getting like what, 10,000 a month, right? Wrong. Oh, so wrong. My take home was about 7,000 a month. Before some of y'all call me a liar, here's part of my bank statement from when I was a first year associate. See those two direct deposit amounts up there? They add up to about 7,000. The rent was a little over 2,000, as you can see from the ACH payment up there. Then I have my law school loans, another 2,000 a month.
Back to what we were talking about earlier. Student loans, $2,000 a month on student loans. Oh my gosh, that's rough. 2,100 rent in New York City. She's probably living in a bachelor.
Means bad, but it's a lot less than I thought $180,000 would get me.
So first of all, she's talking about $180,000 salary. That's at the personal level, right? If she was making $180K in a corporation from a business that she was running and operating, then she would be taxed significantly less. And this is in New York. This is in the United States. If this was in Canada, it would be so much more than that. The 67% take home, it would be more than that, or less than that, I should say, here in Canada. If you're making $180,000 a year at the personal level, you're probably taking home like 100K, maybe even less, depending on how many deductions there are also on your paycheck. When I was working at the government, there were, no joke, about 10 deductions. It was absolutely insane. Now, taking home $7,000 per month, though, I mean, she's still doing extremely well for herself, so congratulations. But yeah, living in a big city like that, especially New York City, is going to be extremely costly. Everything's more expensive, right? Your food, the rent, everything, essentially, the cost of living is significantly more. When I moved to Montreal, this is something that I also realized, and that's why now I came back to the capital region and grounded myself here on the Gatineau side, where I'm able to purchase properties significantly less and start building up my wealth over time. I would highly recommend, if you're someone who lives in a really expensive metropolitan area, if you're able to, especially with the work from home now, or if you are an entrepreneur, move out of those large cities and reduce your cost of living, right? This place right here, when all is said and done, it costs me less than $2,000. That's including the utilities, absolutely everything to maintain this house with the mortgage payments, the renovation loan. That would net me about a 2-bedroom apartment over on the Ottawa side. So definitely things to consider. All right, moving on, I'm kind of realizing that in the personal finance section, it's less advice or whatnot that I can really dissect than the stock section, but nonetheless, let's take a look at a couple more. Why the latte factor is BS. Let's take a look at this. Can't afford $1,800. That was pretty quick. Yeah, I would tend to agree with this. Now, here's the thing, right? The whole latte factor of you won't be able to afford a house or a car or whatnot if you buy a $5 coffee every day ultimately is not necessarily true. However, the concept behind it of if you were to take that $1,800 per year and put it into the market, over time it would be worth X amount of money. I don't really like that whole logic anyways, because $5 a day is most likely going to be a sunk cost. If you're at least, like, if you're allocating $5 a day to something you really like, it's not going to be the end of the world. Granted, if you are saving a good portion of your income, right? If you're making minimum wage or not enough really to cover most of your expenses and you're still spending $5 a day, you should probably just buy your coffee at home, make it at home for probably 50 cents or $1, whatever it comes out to be with a Keurig cup. But yeah, purchasing a house, here's the thing also, actually, that this doesn't make sense if you think of it. She's saying average home price $226,000. Yeah, but the thing is, you're not buying it cash necessarily. You're taking either 5% down, maybe up to 20%, and so it's going to be significantly less. It'll be on $226,000. You're going to put down at 5%. You're looking at $10,000 down. So those $5 a day coffees can definitely add up over time, and I think it's more one of those saving over spending mindsets that you're trying to craft. So this one, I'll give it like a 5 out of 10. All right, so based on everything that we looked over here on TikTok, I was actually pretty impressed by what we mostly looked over. Now, of course, there are thousands, millions of TikToks that get posted every single week. And so every single one you need to take with a grain of salt, and more research is needed typically to be conducted on, let's say, those stock picks as well as other financial advice. But some of them were actually pretty good, especially considering the 60-second time constraint on these TikToks. With that said, make sure to let me know down in the comments what your thoughts were on any of these TikToks and whether or not you enjoyed this completely different style of video. I had a lot of fun making it. It was a different workflow than usual, and hopefully you all enjoyed it. If you did, make sure to smash the like button. It really helps the channel out. Comment down below. Check out the resources that I use and recommend for new and intermediate investors. We have free money for opening up brokerage accounts down in the description, as well as high interest savings account, free Bitcoin, and a whole bunch of other things. And finally, of course, if you want to check out Skillshare, check out the link down below. So on that note, thanks a lot for watching today's video, and I will see you in the next one.